Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to be exploring this fascinating world of the Children of Araneck, a civilization that, from what we can gather, was super advanced, like mastered tech in ways we can barely fathom, but then, boom, vanished.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing, right? I mean, you've got these records detailing incredible tech and advancements, but at the same time, they're grappling with these, fundamental questions, the big ones. Where do we come from? What are we doing here? What happens when, societies just sort of lose their way?
Yeah, it's like they're holding up a mirror to humanity, even though they existed centuries ago. And to make things even more interesting, their journey, it all begins with this prophet named Araneck. Now, this isn't your typical origin story, no way. According to their texts, Araneck led his people out of the plains of Shinar. Now, does that ring a bell?
Wait, the plains of Shinar, as in Tower of Babel territory?
Bingo! It's the same region, suggesting there might be a link between the people of light and, well, those folks who tried to build a staircase to heaven. Makes you wonder if they came from the same, cultural background, right?
Yeah.
Shared knowledge, maybe even a common goal.
Huh. Now, that's an interesting thought. And their journey, it doesn't just stop there, does it?
Nope, not at all. They were guided, get this, by a pillar of fire. And they eventually settled in a land they called Albion, which kind of hints at a connection to our own history, maybe even geographically. But here's where things get really unique. Their societal structure. 5 distinct houses, a priesthood, a governing council. It's super complex, especially for a civilization that predates so much of what we know.
Right. And here's the kicker. Even with all that tech, they were incredibly devout. They believed in one God, which, set them apart from most other civilizations back then who were all about the whole pantheon of gods thing.
Yeah, it's like their belief in a single God that was the core of their whole civilization, the foundation. But even with that solid foundation, their history, it's full of these ups and downs, periods of righteousness, followed by, well, let's just say not so righteous times, which, that echoes themes you see in a lot of ancient texts.
Totally. And these cycles, they really play out in the stories of their prophets. Take Araneck, for example. So he had no tongue, couldn't speak. But guess what? He delivered divine messages through his brother Hajanek. It's talk about determination, right?
Right, what a story. And then there's the story of Lionek, the prophet's brother. He basically said, see ya, and led a whole faction away. His followers, the seed of Lionek, they represent the folks who kind of turned away from the spiritual side of things and went for, well, I guess you could say more worldly pursuits.
Yeah, but I wonder, was there more to it than just rebellion? Could it have been about social inequality, or maybe they were unhappy with the ruling elite? Their motives might be a lot more complicated than, just plain old rebellion.
You've got a point there. It's easy to put these historical figures in a box, but their choices, they're probably influenced by so many things. So we've got this super advanced civilization, a complex society, and stories of prophets dealing with all sorts of conflicts, both internal and external. But one thing that really stands out in their chronicles is this concept of get this, a great tree within each person.
Oh, yeah, the great tree. It's not just some random symbol, though. No, it represents the potential for good and evil that's inside all of us. It shows a deep understanding of human nature. How we all have this capacity for both righteousness and, well, let's just say the opposite.
Yeah, it's like this visual representation of that internal struggle we all have, the constant tug of war between, our best selves and, well, not our best selves. But it also makes you wonder, how did they deal with this concept? Did they think we could control it, or was it destiny?
Those are excellent questions, and ones that we definitely need to dig into further as we go through these chronicles. But for now, let's shift gears a bit and look at their beliefs about the universe, creation, and, well, the human spirit itself.
Okay, yeah, because their cosmology, it's seriously mind-blowing. We've got excerpts from a creation account that was received by the prophet Ploternon, and it's got some interesting parallels to other creation stories, like the whole 6-day creation thing. But then it throws in some unique twists.
Right. What really sets Ploternon's account apart is the emphasis on this close relationship between God and his son during creation. It wasn't just God doing everything solo. They were a team, working side by side, speaking things into existence. Makes you think about the nature of divine power, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And get this, their creation story doesn't end there. They also believe that, everything existed spiritually before it became physical. It really challenges our modern way of thinking, blurring the lines between the spiritual and material worlds. And then you've got Gilderon's teachings.
Oh, yeah, Gilderon. He was the one who claimed that human spirits were created before the world and that each of us has this divine spark inside. It's like saying we had a premortal existence. Makes you think, if we existed before birth, do our actions here have consequences that go beyond, this life?
Wow, yeah. That's a lot to process. But it definitely opens up a whole new way of looking at things. And as if all that wasn't enough, the people of light, they also had prophecies about the future. Araneck, the last prophet to write in these Chronicles, he described visions of a coming Savior, Jesus Christ, who would actually visit their land.
And those prophecies, they add another layer to their belief system, right? It suggests that they believed in a future that extended beyond their own time, a future where this divine figure would bring hope and redemption. Makes you wonder, did they sense their own downfall? Did they see this coming Savior as a way to, get back on track? It's definitely possible. And speaking of intriguing practices, we gotta talk about their temple ceremonies. They really emphasized connecting with God through righteous living. It's almost like their whole existence was about achieving this spiritual unity.
Yeah, those ceremonies weren't just some empty rituals. They were carefully designed to create a deep connection with the divine. They used specific language, made covenants, performed rituals, all intended to elevate the participants and bring them closer to God. It reminds us that the human desire to connect with something bigger than ourselves, that's universal. It transcends cultures and time. We've only just scratched the surface of this fascinating civilization, and I gotta say, the deeper we go, the more we see that it's not all sunshine and roses.
Yeah, no kidding. We're seeing this picture of technological wonders, but also human error, internal struggles, a civilization grappling with its darker side.
Exactly. It's almost like, a cautionary tale, right? And as we explore the events leading up to their downfall, it's hard not to see some serious warning signs.
Remember those 5 houses we talked about? The ones that form the foundation of their society. Well, it seems those divisions weren't just, administrative.
Oh, really? What do you mean?
Well, they also represented different schools of thought, social classes, maybe even competing interests.
So even though they believed in one God, there were still all these tensions, power struggles going on.
Seems that way. And those tensions, well, they likely played a big part in their eventual collapse. Take the seat of Araneck, for example. They weren't just rebels, right?
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Right. They represented this growing group that was fed up with the status quo. So I'm wondering, was their dissent rooted in social inequalities? Economic disparities? Maybe they saw corruption within the ruling houses?
That's a really good question. It challenges that simple narrative of, good guys versus bad guys. Maybe their downfall wasn't just about external forces, but also about these unresolved internal issues.
Absolutely. The Chronicles hint at a society that was struggling to stay united, to deal with these growing pressures from within. And that internal fragmentation, it would have made them vulnerable to those outside threats.
Speaking of threats, I keep thinking about the worshippers of Odinon. Seriously, they sound like something out of a fantasy epic, with their warrior culture and those terrifying war machines.
Yeah, they were a force to be reckoned with.
So I gotta ask, were they just power-hungry invaders? Or was there something more to their conflict with the people of light, like some deeper ideological clash?
It's worth considering, right? I mean, the Chronicles paint them as this, formidable enemy, driven by their god of war, always looking to conquer. But their clashes with the people of light, it might not have been just about land or resources. Think about it. Their belief systems were completely opposite. One god versus a god of war. That could have fueled a major ideological conflict, making peace basically impossible.
Whoa, so we're talking about a clash of civilizations here. A battle not just for land, but for the very soul of humanity.
Exactly. But even in the midst of all this darkness and turmoil, there's this, glimmer of hope that keeps popping up. Remember the prophecy about a coming Savior, Jesus Christ?
Yeah, that really stood out.
Right. And it wasn't just some passive belief in some far-off event. The Chronicles actually describe Jesus visiting the people of light as a child. Imagine that, right? This young boy who they believed was divine, walking among a people on the verge of collapse, offering a message of peace and love.
Wow, that's a powerful image. So did his message resonate with them? Did they see him as a potential savior, a way to, reunite and avoid disaster?
It's hard to say for sure. The Chronicles only give us glimpses, not the whole picture, but they do describe Jesus talking about caring for the land, living in harmony with each other, and seeking a deeper connection with the divine.
Sounds like his message was all about unity, compassion, a return to their spiritual roots.
Exactly, a stark contrast to all the violence and division going on. But even with his message of peace, the people of light, well, they couldn't escape their fate.
Yeah, the Chronicles detail those final days, those devastating battles, the fall of their once great cities. It's sobering, a reminder that even advanced civilizations, they're not invincible.
It's a tragic ending, for sure. But I don't think their story ends there. Remember, they had this deep understanding of the human spirit and its potential to transcend, physical limitations. And even as their world crumbled, they took steps to make sure their knowledge, their beliefs survived.
You're talking about those hidden records, right?
Right.
And prophets like Felindon, who worked so hard to preserve their sacred texts.
Yeah. It's like they knew that even in the face of total destruction, their teachings had this timeless wisdom that needed to be passed on.
It's like planting seeds of hope in the ashes. But if their civilization was wiped out, how did those records resurface? What happened to the people of light themselves?
That's where things get even more interesting. The Chronicles don't give us all the answers, but they do offer some tantalizing clues about, like, a hidden lineage, a group that carried the torch, so to speak.
Wait, are you talking about the people of Chelendon? The group that followed Araneck, Araneck's son, into hiding?
Bingo. Araneck's account picks up where his father's left off. He gives us a glimpse of what happened after the people of light fell. He describes a small group escaping, including those 12 disciples chosen by Jesus. They went into hiding, formed a new community dedicated to preserving their ancestors' teachings.
So it wasn't a complete annihilation. A part of their civilization survived.
It seems that way. Araneck describes the people of Chelendon living in secrecy, safeguarding the knowledge and practices of the people of light, like they were waiting for the right time to share those teachings with the world again.
Wow. It's like a secret society, a hidden chapter in human history. But what does this mean for us today? How do these ancient chronicles, the story of the people of Chelendon, connect to our world? What wisdom can we actually take away from the people of light?
Well, their story, it's a powerful reminder, the challenges we face today, they're not new. I mean, think about it. Societal divisions, the allure of material wealth, the people of light, even with all their advancements, they struggled with the same things. And ultimately, they fell because of internal strife and, I think, a loss of spiritual grounding.
Yeah, it's like their story, even though it's from so long ago, it speaks to these timeless themes. I mean, it makes you wonder, if a civilization that was that advanced couldn't overcome these challenges, what does that say about us, about human nature?
It suggests that technology, it's not a cure-all, right? Progress, real progress, requires a balance. We need material advancements, sure, but we also need spiritual growth. We need to focus on both the outer and the inner.
And their story, it also highlights how important unity and shared values are. I mean, they believed in one God, but they were still torn apart by internal divisions, and that's what made them vulnerable. Do you think we can learn from that? I mean, our world is so polarized right now.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. I mean, the people of light, they show us that a strong society, it needs more than just shared beliefs. It needs ways to address grievances, to ensure fairness, to make sure everyone feels like they belong. They didn't manage their internal conflicts well, and that contributed to their downfall.
And let's not forget about materialism, right? Their chronicles, they seem to warn against that. They prospered, built incredible cities, accumulated wealth, but somewhere along the way, they lost sight of their spiritual core. And that a warning for us about, progress without a focus on inner growth.
It definitely raises that question. The people of light's story suggests that material wealth, without a strong ethical and spiritual foundation, well, it can lead to complacency, inequality, and ultimately, it weakens the bonds that hold a society together. Their story reminds us that true prosperity, it's not just about stuff, it's about values, compassion, a sense of shared purpose.
Yeah, that makes sense. But even with their downfall, there's still this thread of hope running through it all. The prophecy of Jesus visiting their land, their efforts to preserve their records, the people of Chelendon carrying their legacy. It's like they never gave up believing in a better future, a future where their wisdom wouldn't be forgotten.
It's a testament to the human spirit, right?
Yeah.
Even in the darkest times, we have this incredible capacity for resilience and hope. The people of light, they wanted to preserve their teachings, they believed in a coming savior, and their lineage survived through the people of Chelendon. It speaks volumes about the power of faith, the importance of passing down wisdom, the potential for renewal.
It's a really powerful message, and it feels so relevant today with all the challenges and uncertainty in the world. But it does leave us with one final question. What happened to the people of Chelendon? Did they survive? Did they ever reemerge?
That's the mystery, isn't it? Araneck's account, it ends with their escape. We don't know what happened after that. Maybe their descendants are still out there, safeguarding the wisdom of the people of light, waiting for the right moment. Or maybe, just maybe, their teachings have already found their way into our world, shaping our understanding in ways we don't even realize.
It's like they left us a treasure map, leading to this lost world of knowledge and spiritual insight. As we wrap up this deep dive, I gotta say, I'm filled with awe. The people of light, they might be long gone, but they're still speaking to us through their chronicles. They challenge us, they inspire us, and they make us think about what it really means to be human.
Their story, it shows us the power of ideas, the resilience of the human spirit, and how connected we are across time and space. As you continue your own journey, keep in mind the lessons of the people of light, their successes, their failures, and their unwavering belief in a future where wisdom and compassion prevail. Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring.